Hey Siri,
Hmm?
how many days has it been since February 17th, 2017?
It was 1,997 days ago.
Exactly 1,997 days ago, I set my foot in this country. Coming to Korea was remarkable for me. It wasn't just another move to another country, it was life-changing. It was my very first time traveling to a foreign country, which meant that it was the first time I had to use my passport, the first time I was on an international flight with a layover, which now, looking back, I don't think I would have been able to make it to South Korea if I didn't travel in a group because I knew nothing about international travel. But beyond everything, and most importantly to me, I was and still am the very first person in my entire family, including my extended family, to not only move to a different country, but to travel to a different country. What seems like one decision, a decision to apply for an English teaching job abroad, led to many first-time experiences for me. First-time experiences which I would have otherwise not had I not made that one decision. Last year, I made a video about 4 of my biggest regrets after being in Korea for 4 years. In that video, I mentioned that I had only intended to stay in Korea for 2 years. Yep, only 2. When I arrived in South Korea, I had this huge dream, this big dream of being a digital nomad, basically homeless and traveling the world for the rest of my life. And it seemed like 2 years was a long enough time to set myself up for that. And I also remember when I was new, I was friends with this girl who was a huge K-pop, K-drama fan. And within our first month of being here, she told me that she could see herself being here for 8 years. Me and my digital nomad dream were very judgmental towards that because I couldn't imagine why would anybody want to stay in the same place for like 8 years. And so it was very judgmental. And I thought, that's a little bit crazy. But you know what happened? Well, apart from the fact that I ended up staying here beyond those 2 years, is that she married a Korean guy and thus made this lifetime commitment to stay in South Korea, possibly for the rest of her life. So it worked out really, really well for her. As for me, well, apart from the fact that I have not had much luck with Korean men, I also avoided by any means possible anything that would lead for me to commit my life to Korea. I really love Korea and I cannot really explain this, but there's always been that feeling of something is missing and this is not quite how I want my life to be or how I want home to be. So why did I stay? Well, because it's been 5 years, I came up with 5 reasons why. And the first reason is comfort. As somebody from South Africa where everyday life can seem like quite a struggle, back when I lived in SA, I had a job that was it was extremely far from where I stayed, and I had to take public transportation every day. It was quite the hustle. And when I needed to do my epic interview, I had to spend my entire night at work because the internet in my house was extremely slow. So those were my struggles. But when I came to Korea quickly provided me with a sense of comfort where things I would struggle to have, I didn't struggle to have anymore. And these things include public transportation, which is amazing, fast internet, fast delivery, amazing customer service. And this one is not little, it's actually very important, and that is safety. And all the other things that I mentioned in my amazing things about Korea video. Those were things that I got in South Korea from early on that made my life pretty comfortable. The only problem is you might get trapped in a bubble of comfort, and that part is very dangerous to growth, which leaves me to reason number 2. I got lost. I was so lost in my life and it was sad. End of 2018 came with the realization that I didn't enjoy teaching. Teaching wasn't something that I hated or loved. It was something that I felt very much indifferent to, especially towards the end of 2018. The only problem is I had this degree that I had deemed useless because I could not see myself doing the same job that I did prior to coming to Korea. I didn't want to return to that field. At the same time, I had no idea what to do moving forward. So here I was in a relatively easy job that pays decently well and my life is comfortable, and not knowing what it is that I wanted to do. So what did I do? I stayed. I stayed until reason number 3, which was I needed time to figure things out. Unlike some people, I didn't have the option of just packing my bags and going home to figure things out at home, because I knew that if I spent time at home not having a job or any sort of income, I would regret it. On top of all the confusion that I was facing, I had 2 friends who were both from South Africa, and both of them had planned to leave South Korea at the beginning of 2020. Listening to them talk about this kind of put me under pressure because they had also arrived in Korea after me. So I had been here for a longer period than they have, and so I felt like, if people that have just arrived here already want to leave, why are you still here? The person that I was dating also kept on telling me about how teaching English was just not ambitious for me because I was not growing and that I should be aiming for things that are higher. After a long period of time of listening to my friends wanting to leave and this guy saying you should leave or you should be doing something else because teaching just isn't it for you, I gave in to the pressure. I decided that I was going to leave South Korea in February 2020. So what I did was I booked my ticket, started selling my things on Facebook Market, which is funny because I've been doing that since then, 2020, 2021, 2022. My things stay being on Facebook Market. In January 2020, I was in my apartment on the floor trying to pack my bags. I was so overwhelmed, and I also was extremely depressed at that point. I looked at my bag, I looked around my apartment with all of these things staring at me. I broke down and I cried. I cried a lot. I came to the realization that the decision to leave Korea for good was not mine. I had let other people's voices infiltrate my head and cloud my judgment. And I was doing something because everyone else was telling me that it's something that I should be doing. And so I felt that pressure. And as soon as I realized that, I stopped packing. I unpacked my clothes back into my closet. I still kept my ticket. Instead, what I did is I packed a small bag, got to the airport, flew home and spent vacation with my parents instead, which meant that I would be coming back to South Korea. Still not clear what it is that I would be doing moving forward, but I felt so much better with that decision. This was a critical moment to me because I did not want to leave Korea and then regret it. I didn't want to go home with no plan in place. I knew that in order for me to leave Korea, I needed to have a plan of exactly what it is that I was going to do, where I was going to do it, when I was going to do it. In that moment, none of these were actually concrete. But most importantly, all of these decisions needed to be my decision. Number 4, I stayed for the money. By the end of 2019, I knew for sure that I wanted to go back to university full time, which is also the reason why I did not want to leave when other people were telling me to go, because I also didn't want to tell them that I wanted to go back to school full time. I didn't want other people to be telling me, oh, you are old, or you could get another job with your current degree, or you could do that. But the problem is, as somebody who was in their late 20s, early 30s, I needed to have savings in order for me to be able to go back to school. I can't be a 31-year-old texting my dad saying, hey dude, I need money. And so I decided to stay and save more money, which leads me to reason number 5 of why I stayed. And that is, I stayed because I was dating someone. I had a hard time admitting this to anyone, including myself, because I am the cheerleader of put yourself first squad, never compromise your future for a man squad. Yet here I was looking at this very beautiful, tall human being and thinking, maybe a couple of months in Korea just to stare in your face a little bit longer might not be that bad. I don't particularly like to share a lot about my love life because I tend to get overly excited and overshare. I do that a lot on my Instagram already, but I figured since I'm being honest about some of the reasons why I stayed in Korea, and this is actually one of the key reasons why I stayed in Korea. Yeah, this person came into my life and I figured it wouldn't hurt to stick around for a little bit longer. Luckily for me, because of COVID and everything else, I could do all of my studies online wherever I was because I didn't have any classes on campus anyway. And so staying in Korea wasn't in any way so far harmful to my future plans, including the fact that I stayed here because of a man. But more on that story one day. Which brings me to the last part of my video, and that is, when am I leaving South Korea? To be honest, I don't know. Not because I don't know, but because I have made announcements every single year since 2020. 2020, I said I was leaving. 2021, I said I was leaving. 2022, I said I was leaving. And I think all of my friends and all the people who follow me on my Instagram probably think, yeah, she's a little bit crazy. She says this at least twice a year and she never leaves, so she's never leaving. So I am never gonna make announcements until I'm in a different country or back home or wherever I'll be going to next. Then, only then will I say, oh, by the way, I left South Korea. So I will not be making any announcements. But I will only leave South Korea when my soul tells me to. However, if you have any questions about teaching English in South Korea or life in Korea in general, I'm happy to either make a video or answer you directly because I am now a full-on veteran. I've earned my stripes. Thank you so much for your continuous support. If you are new, please make sure you subscribe and come back to watch more of my crazy videos. Other than that, thank you so much for watching and I will see you on the next video.